There comes a moment in life when you realize something unsettling. The hostility aimed at you often has little to do with what you've done, and everything to do with what you unknowingly awaken in others. Think about it. A friend who once celebrated your victories now grows silent. A colleague who praised your work begins to undermine you. A family member who smiled in your presence suddenly resents you. Your first instinct is to blame yourself. Did I say something wrong? Did I change? Did I make a mistake? But more often than not, the truth is far deeper, hidden in the uncharted shadows of the human psyche. People are not only reacting to your actions. They are reacting to themselves, to the parts of their soul they have buried, denied, and chained in silence. The shadow that never sleeps. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow, the hidden repository of all we repress, our shame, our insecurities, our secret desires, our unacknowledged fears. These are the parts of the self we cannot bear to face, so we banish them into the unconscious. But repression does not mean destruction. The shadow does not die. It waits. Silent, heavy, watching. And then, someone comes along, a stranger, a friend, maybe you, and becomes the trigger. Without knowing it, you embody the very trait they have rejected within themselves. Your confidence exposes the insecurity they cannot admit. Your discipline highlights the laziness they bury. Your compassion reminds them of the cruelty they try to forget. Your freedom mirrors the chains they have willingly locked around their lives. When this happens, they are no longer looking at you. They are looking at the parts of themselves they despise but cannot face. Hatred, envy, and resentment are often nothing more than projections of the unclaimed shadow. Why hatred finds you? This is why people can treat you as an enemy without you ever harming them. They are not fighting you, they are fighting the reflection you unknowingly provide. You become a mirror, and the reflection is unbearable. Instead of facing their wounds, they attempt to shatter the mirror. They gossip, they withdraw, they sabotage. They tell themselves, if I remove you, I remove the pain. But the shadow follows them. It whispers in the silence, lurks in every envy-filled glance, and gnaws at the edges of their identity. The truth is liberating once you see it clearly. Their contempt is not truly about you. Their envy is not truly about your success. Their rejection is not truly about your essence. It is about the war inside of them, projected outward. The mirror effect. Every interaction is a reflection. What people admire in you reveals their own unlived potential. What they despise in you exposes the very traits they repress in themselves. The one who ridicules kindness often longs for tenderness they never received. The one who despises confidence hides a fragile self-image suffocated by doubt. The one who resents freedom carries chains of fear and obedience. When you stand in your light, you bring their darkness into focus. And rather than confront that darkness, they often choose the easier path, to blame you. But this mirror effect cuts both ways. The people you despise, the traits you cannot stand, the behaviors you mock with unusual intensity, these may be pointing toward your own shadow. The arrogance you loathe, the laziness you scorn, the dishonesty you detest, are they not also fragments of you? To deny this is to remain blind, forever projecting. To see it is to begin the work of integration, the courageous process of making peace with your own darkness. The threat of authenticity. Few forces unsettle others as much as authenticity. To live authentically is to exist without the constant need for masks, approval, or distortion. But authenticity threatens the fragile identities others have built. Most people wear masks, roles crafted to gain validation, personas designed to shield insecurity, identities built on compliance. These masks require effort, energy, and performance. But when you live authentically, you become a silent confrontation to all who do not. Your presence whispers, this is what it looks like to live free. And for many, that whisper is unbearable. Your honesty exposes their silence. Your courage calls out their fear. Your freedom highlights their compliance. They do not hear you say, you are not real. Yet their unconscious registers it as danger. And danger demands defense, mockery, rejection, even hatred. Authenticity is not arrogance. It is not rebellion. It is alignment. But alignment destabilizes illusions, and illusions are the scaffolding upon which many lives are built. To question them feels like chaos. That is why authenticity often attracts resistance, even when it carries no hostility within it. Power dynamics hidden in relationships. Beneath every relationship lies a silent current of power, who influences, who follows, who validates, who seeks validation. When these dynamics shift, resentment often surfaces. When you set boundaries, they feel their control slipping. When you succeed, your growth disrupts the silent hierarchy. When you grow independent, the one who thrived on your dependence feels threatened. The hostility is rarely about the surface issue. It is about the unspoken rearranging of power. They do not say, "I am angry because I can no longer control you." Instead, they call you arrogant, selfish, or disloyal. But the truth lies beneath, your presence disrupted their hidden structure of influence. The silence of envy. Envy does not announce itself. It hides in silence. It lingers in the pause after your success, in the friend who no longer claps as loudly, in the colleague whose smile fades just a little too quickly. No one will say, "Your confidence makes me feel small," or "Your success reminds me of my failures." Pride forbids such honesty. Instead, envy cloaks itself, first in silence, then in coldness, eventually in subtle sabotage. And envy often comes not from strangers but from those closest to you. Because the closer the bond, the sharper the comparison. Your light exposes their stagnation. Your progress illuminates their unfulfilled potential. And instead of growing, they turn away, resentful of the mirror you've become. How to carry this awareness? When you understand the shadow, the mirror effect, the threat of authenticity, and the silence of envy, you begin to live with a new kind of strength. You stop shrinking yourself to avoid triggering others. You stop personalizing every rejection. You stop doubting your worth when faced with hostility. You begin to see clearly, people are not just reacting to you. They are reacting to themselves through you. Their admiration is a reflection of their unclaimed potential. Their hatred is a reflection of their unhealed wounds. Their envy is a reflection of their unlived life. And your task is not to shatter mirrors, nor to explain yourself endlessly, nor to dim your light. Your task is to remain authentic, aware, and unshaken. Because the hostility you face is rarely proof of your failure. More often, it is proof of your light. But here's the part that stings. Even if you call her out, even if you prove she's lying, she won't suddenly fall to her knees and apologize. That's not how female psychology works. When you expose a woman, you don't get her guilt, you get her resentment. You don't get her honesty, you get her defensiveness. And if you're not ready for that, you'll confuse her resistance as proof that you were wrong. But you weren't. You just touched her ego, and that's the one place she'll never let you win without a fight. This is why men get trapped in endless arguments. You think logic will save you. You bring facts, you bring evidence, you bring reason. But women don't fight with logic, they fight with perception, with emotion, with silence, with withdrawal. She knows that if she makes you doubt yourself, she doesn't need to prove you wrong. She just needs to make you feel unstable. And if you crumble, she wins. So what's the real solution? It's not to argue. It's not to chase. It's not to break down your sanity trying to decode every word she says. The solution is mastery, emotional mastery, psychological mastery, self-mastery. When you stop reacting to her games, you stop feeding her control. When you stop needing her validation, her manipulation dies in silence. And when you hold your frame, unshaken, she realizes the one truth she can never escape. Power belongs to the man who does not chase it. And here's where most men fail. The moment she pulls away, you panic. The moment she goes silent, you start chasing. The moment she withholds attention, you beg for it. That's not strength, that's weakness dressed in desperation. And nothing kills a woman's respect faster than a man who loses control of himself the second she withholds hers. Understand this. She is testing you. Not always consciously, not always with malice, but testing you nonetheless. Every withdrawal, every silence, every contradiction, every shift in her energy, it's all designed to answer one question: can this man control himself, or will I control him? If you fail that test, you're done. She may not leave you immediately, but the respect is gone. And once respect dies, attraction soon follows. So what's the weapon? Detachment. Not coldness, not cruelty, but calm indifference. The kind of strength that says, I don't need your approval to validate me. I don't need your attention to know my worth. I am whole with or without you. When you hold that frame, everything changes. Suddenly, the arguments stop mattering. The games lose their effect. The silence becomes powerless. Because a woman cannot manipulate a man who refuses to give her his emotional leash. That's when you flip the script. She starts chasing your attention. She starts seeking your validation. She starts fearing your absence more than you ever feared hers. Because the man who masters himself, masters the relationship. Here's the shift no one tells you about. The moment you stop needing her, she starts needing you. The second you pull your energy back, she feels the void. And that void is louder than any argument, any confession, any desperate text you could ever send. A woman doesn't fear losing a man who clings. She fears losing the man who can walk away without hesitation. That fear rewires her behavior. Suddenly, the silence she once used against you becomes unbearable for her. The game she once played backfire, because you're not playing. She thought you would collapse without her, but instead, she's the one restless, sleepless, questioning her worth. This is where the power dynamic flips. She begins to chase. She reaches out more. She tries harder to win your attention. She dresses different, talks softer, acts sweeter, because she feels what every woman dreads: the man I want might slip out of my hands. Understand something critical: this isn't about cruelty. It's not about punishing her or playing the same games she plays. It's about standing so firm in your own self-mastery that she realizes you're not like other men. You're not bendable, not breakable, not easily shaken. That's when respect returns. That's when desire sharpens. That's when she looks at you with a different kind of hunger, not for your weakness, but for your strength. Because in the end, a woman may play with many men. But she submits only to the one she cannot break. So how do you actually hold this frame? Because it's easy to talk about strength, but in the heat of the moment, when she's ignoring you, when she's throwing attitude, when she's twisting your words, that's when most men collapse. Rule number 1, never argue for your value. The moment you start justifying yourself, explaining yourself, or begging her to see your worth, you've already lost. A king doesn't explain why he's on the throne. He sits there in silence, and the world recognizes it. If she questions your value, let her. The more you fight to prove it, the less she believes it. Rule number 2, silence is stronger than words. If she withdraws, don't chase. If she plays cold, stay warm within yourself. If she tries to bait you into emotional chaos, smile and remain unshaken. Nothing drives a manipulative woman crazier than a man who doesn't feed her games with his reactions. Rule number 3, walk away when respect dies. Not with anger, not with a dramatic exit, but with calm certainty. A man who is willing to leave the table when respect is gone is a man who will never be starved of it. That energy alone forces her to reconsider, because she realizes you're not bound by fear. And here's the paradox. The less you chase, the more she comes forward. The less you need, the more she gives. The less you react, the more she respects. Because women test men for one reason: to find out if you can withstand their storms. If you crumble, they know they can never truly lean on you. But if you stand tall, unshaken, then even her chaos bends around your presence. That's the frame. That's the mastery. That's the power. You can't fake this frame. You can't pretend to be unshaken when inside you're panicking, replaying her words, drowning in doubt. That mask always cracks. Real control comes from the inside out, and it's built through discipline. Step 1. Detach from outcome. Every day, remind yourself, I do not need anyone to complete me. When you believe your happiness depends on her reaction, you'll always be her puppet. When you know you are whole with or without her, you walk free. That detachment is magnetic, because it radiates strength. Step 2. Train emotional stillness. Meditation. Journaling. Stoic reflection. Call it whatever you want, but you must master the art of sitting with your emotions instead of acting on them. Anger, jealousy, fear, these are signals, not orders. When you stop obeying every emotional impulse, you stop being a slave to chaos. Step 3. Develop options. Scarcity makes men weak. If you convince yourself she's the only woman you'll ever have, you'll tolerate anything. But when you know you have choices, when you invest in your purpose, your body, your network, your life, you stop clinging to one person for validation. Options create confidence. Confidence creates calm. Step 4. Rehearse silence. Most men break in silence. They can't handle being ignored, so they chase. They can't handle being doubted, so they argue. But the strongest men practice patience. They let silence hang. They let tension build. And when they do speak, their words carry weight because they weren't wasted in panic. And here's the ultimate truth. Women don't respect perfect men. They respect grounded men. Men who feel emotion, but don't drown in it. Men who face storms, but don't collapse in them. The man who controls himself, controls the dynamic. Scenario 1. The silent treatment. She stops texting back. She ignores your calls. She pulls back her attention to see what you'll do. Most men panic. They blow up her phone, send long emotional paragraphs, demand answers. Wrong move. That only proves her power works. The right move? Silence meets silence. You live your life. You post your progress, your gym, your purpose. You don't flinch. Soon, that silence starts burning her, because she expected control, but got indifference. Scenario 2. Disrespect in an argument. She raises her voice, cuts you off, maybe even mocks you. Most men fight back with anger, trying to dominate with noise. But anger is just proof she shook your frame. The right move? Lower your tone. Slow your words. And if she continues, you walk away calmly. Respect is non-negotiable. The moment you enforce that with action instead of begging, she feels the difference, and respect returns. Scenario 3. Emotional manipulation. She twists your words, cries on cue, or guilt trips you. The weak man folds, apologizes for things he didn't do, and tries to fix feelings that aren't even his fault. The right move? Stay grounded. Acknowledge emotion, but don't absorb it. I understand you feel that way, is powerful, because it validates her feelings without surrendering to her narrative. You hold your truth without becoming her emotional punching bag. Scenario 4. Threat of leaving. She says, maybe we should break up. Most men beg. They bargain. They make promises. That's death. The right move? Call the bluff with calmness. If that's what you want, I won't stop you. 9 times out of 10, she pulls back, because she expected fear, not composure. And if she doesn't? Then you've already proven your strength by refusing to be controlled by fear of loss. Scenario 5. Testing your confidence. She flirts with another man in front of you, or drops hints about other options. Most men get insecure, lash out, or demand loyalty through force. The right move? Unshaken confidence. You know who you are. You know what you bring. A woman testing boundaries only exposes herself, and if it crosses your standard, you walk without hesitation. That calm certainty cuts deeper than any jealous outburst ever could. And this is the secret. It's not about being cold. It's about being immovable. She can rage, she can cry, she can go silent, but none of it shakes your center. And when you are unshaken, she has two choices: rise to meet your standard, or lose you to your own strength. That's why emotional mastery isn't optional. It's survival. At first, she'll resist. She'll push harder. She'll try stronger games, sharper words, deeper silences. She wants to see if this calm you're showing is real, or just a mask waiting to crack. But when she realizes it's real, the entire dynamic changes. Her tone softens. The disrespect fades. The arguments shorten. Because now she knows the truth: you are not a man she can bend. You are not a man who reacts like a puppet when strings are pulled. You are a man who cannot be controlled, and paradoxically, that's exactly the kind of man she craves. This is where her behavior shifts. She starts chasing. She starts checking in more. She starts worrying about your attention instead of pulling hers away. She becomes sweeter, more feminine, more nurturing, because women are only truly feminine around men who are truly masculine. And the irony? The very silence she once used against you becomes her fear. The very distance she once created becomes her weakness. She knows you don't need her, and that makes her want you even more. Understand this: women don't fall in love with men they can control. They may play with them, use them, even date them, but they don't submit to them. Submission, real submission, only happens when she meets a man she cannot break. That's the essence of masculine power. Not aggression. Not anger. Not force. But immovability. Presence. Control. A calm dominance that doesn't need to scream, because it's felt in silence. And once she feels that, she will never look at you the same again.